Well, hello again. Pastor Ray Barnett here, and I'm glad that you could be with me for another broadcast on God's answers for anxiety and depression. As always, I wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Well, once again, beautiful day here in upstate New York. Almost the same as yesterday. It's about 75 degrees, very sunny, no humidity, perfect. I mentioned this week it's hard to believe that it's today is August the 5th, Thursday, August the 5th, 2021, and the weather here feels more like fall than it does summer. I said to my wife, though, yesterday, if it us here, if it could stay like this, August and September and October and into November, it'd be, for me, perfect. Sunshine, low humidity, nice little breeze going on right now. And once again, here in God's nature. All right. Today I would like to talk to you about what to do when your back is against the wall. Now, we're familiar with this expression, so what it implies is that when your back is up against the wall, there is no place to go except forward. You have to go forward. But I'm going to amend that just a little bit by saying the first thing that you have to do before your back is against the wall is you have to have an exit strategy. In other words, when you're planning for something, and especially something important, you have to have a backup plan. That's known as an exit strategy as well. Well, in combat it would be known as an exit strategy. How do you get out? How do we get out of here? And that may apply for you as well, and it does apply to me. Having an exit strategy. If this doesn't work out, how do we get out of this? How do we back out? Secondly, is that you don't want to put yourself into a position where your back is up against the wall. So you have a plan A, and plan A is not working out, so your back is against the wall, so then you have a plan B. And when I go to the gym, the time that I go most days, it's very moderate, it's not too crowded. So I don't need plan A and plan B, but I always go with one. I always have a second plan in case the equipment that I want to use is being used by somebody else. And when plan A didn't work out, I have plan B, and when plan B didn't work out, I have plan C. And then there's always D, which is just improvise. As I've told you in times past, there is times, and it's going to be many times in the near future for all of us, we're going to have to improvise, then adapt to a new plan, and then have every intention to overcome. I've been mentioning to you lately the sincere conviction that I have that the days ahead are not going to be easy. We all understand at the moment things aren't easy. Lots of stress, lots of chaos, confusion, and it seems that not too much is stable anymore. It seems nothing is there that you can count on. That's where God comes in, and His Word. It's always the same. God is always the same. He never changes. He mentions that in the Bible. His character never changes. People's character change, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, but people change. People are fickle. People are whimsical. God never changes. To point out about people, I'm in both the knowledge business and I'm in the people business. Today when I was coming into the gym, a young girl that works there, nice kid, was just mentioning something about conversations that she gets into just being there checking people in at the door or at the computer, and I just half jokingly said to her, "Hey, try being a pastor." And she said, "Oh no." She said, "You must have people's problems that just stay with you." And I had to tell her the truth. No matter how hard you try to have exit strategies, plan B, alternate plans, and so on, it's very difficult in my calling to forget. And one of the things that I did, or always to escape the inevitable, and one of the things that I did tell her was that there are things, quite a few, that I wish I could forget, and I can't. So that's an example of, in my case, where there is no exit strategy. There is no plan B, C, D, or whatever. There just isn't much that I can do at times about what is presented to me on a daily basis, every day. One of the good things, by the way, about stress is if you have it continually or continuously, you can build up what is known as stress inoculation. In other words, you start to adapt to the fact that this is stressful, life is stressful, my job is stressful, my marriage is stressful, my job and my marriage are stressful. If handled in the wrong way, it can bring distress. That's not good. That's not what you want. Distress. It can bring not only mental agony, but it could also cause physiological changes in your body. In other words, you can get sick. So you don't want distress. But ordinarily, when you're making a plan, or you find yourself in a situation right now that is pretty much, you feel like you're drowning, you have to come up with either an exit strategy. How do I get out of here? Or plan B, or even plan C. These are known as backstops, also known as alternative plans. All right, nothing new here in me sharing that. You see, when you go in with a naive view of life, and especially the life in which we live now, the changes are coming so fast that it's going to take a lot of, well, I could say flexibility. It's also going to take a lot of, I can only think of the expression we used to use as a kid, ease in the breeze. Well, that sounds kind of good, but it's not all that easy to do. Just, hey, people tell you, hey, just relax. Now, for those of you who have struggled with anxiety and depression and so many other things, mental health disorders, and then just the stresses of life, having someone tell you, hey, just take it easy, is not all that easy to do. And most of you know that by experience. But this is where discipline and mental toughness comes in. I think I told you this week, I believe I used the expression, you either eat life or life eats you. These are the only two options that we have while we're here in this world. We eat life, or life is going to eat us. You eat life, or life eats you. It's like, I don't know, boxing. Two opponents go in the ring, and unless it's a draw, like in a chess match would be similar, in chess you can come to a stalemate, to a draw. But unless it's a draw, unless it's a stalemate, someone wins and someone loses. When you start to lose your health, mental health, you start to lose your physical health, and so on, because the stress is just inordinate, and it keeps coming at you and coming at you, coming at you. Well, then we're down to that adage. Now either you eat life or life eats you. My choice has always been, I'm not going to get eaten by life. It has certainly chewed me up at times and spit me out, but once I hit the ground, I'm already calculating a plan when my back is up against the wall of what I'm going to do next. And that's what I want to share with you today. Do you have a plan? Let me use anxiety as an example. All right, so you're having panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and I was just sharing last night at our Bible study. I truly am amazed at the number of people I'm running into who are having panic attacks, anxiety attacks, depression. Let me say it to you this way, the way I explained it last night to those who are attending Time for Truth Bible study. It used to be that people with, let's say, panic disorder and anxiety disorders and mental health disorders were over here. They were a category all by themselves, just like a cancer patient or a heart patient. It's kind of a unique thing. It's not everybody. What I'm seeing from my own experience and just talking to people, just people I'm running into, we just get into a conversation, we start to talk. They're not people who watch this broadcast. The ones I'm talking about don't even know that I'm on the air, don't even know that I deal with this subject. And we get talking, and one thing leads to the other, and lo and behold, I'm running into more and more people in the general population that are dealing with panic attacks, anxiety attacks, and the symptoms that go along with what is known as a generalized anxiety disorder. Now, before we go to the disorder part of it, that would then categorize a person into a special group of people, like, again, the cancer patients or the heart patients or whatever. The stress of life is becoming so great for everybody that people who ordinarily didn't or wouldn't have had a problem with anxiety and depression and so on are beginning to experience it. And to that end, their back is up against the wall. You know, for a person, for example, who's not used to a panic attack or an anxiety attack, one of the greatest difficulties about that is they don't know what's happening. What's going on? I'm losing my mind. And you get your panic causes you to become more panicky, and mainly because you just don't know what's going on. What's my body doing? Now, again, we've covered the physiology of panic and anxiety on other broadcasts in the past. But that's one of the most frightening things about a sudden panic attack if you've never had one, and especially if it's intense. You don't really know what's happening, what's going on, what's the matter. And so you have this happening more and more now in the general population because the stress is getting very, very high. And so your back is up against the wall. What do you do now? Number one, you must have an exit strategy. What are you going to do about this? What is plan B? What is plan C if plan B doesn't work out? That's number one. You have to have some type of exit strategy, you're going to work on that. Oh, that didn't work. Then the next plan. Well, that's not working either. Then the next plan. And however many plans you have to make, then you make them when your back is against the wall. Secondly, and we have covered this from time to time too, it is no secret at this point to anybody what deep breathing can do. Now, this is not that spiritual, and I'm a pastor, and I'm telling you that this is not a spiritual principle as much as it is a physiological principle. But not just one deep breath. Do it for 4 or 5 minutes, purposely taking in as much oxygen as you can into your lungs, and exhaling it all the way out and in and out, what you do is you engorge your body with oxygen, which has a relaxation effect. Dr. Herbert Benson of Harvard University writes on this extensively, which is known as the relaxation response. The body has the fight or flight response. Most of you are aware of what that's all about. But the body also has another response, thankfully, and that's a relaxation response that's promoted or induced by deep breathing and focusing on one object. Here, I would highly suggest you take a Bible verse. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. And all the verses that I've gone with you through with you in the past. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God hath not given unto us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And Psalm